Okay, we're going to start. This class is in, today's sponsors are Justin Saka, it happens to be my cousin, in honor of his sister, Bahia Slata Bat Shmuel, also in the schut of Daniel and Cindy Witterman, in the honor of the Leah Bat Michal's Bar Mitzvah, Tuvia and Stephanie Eisenberg, in honor of Menachem Mendel and Sarah Badia, and also for Jack and Tara Ben Melech, in honor of the refuah of Devorah Fege Bar Rezel. Okay? They have refuah shalem. Okay. All right, we got a big topic tonight. Since tonight's opening night at the Lighthouse, the third season, we're gonna start with a little bit of a foundation, because I realize there's a lot of people, the more I speak to, we're missing the foundation. You know, we got to start with the basics. I'm all about the basics. Usually, you go to other synagogues, they assume you know everything. They assume people know absolutely everything, and a lot of people are just missing the basic foundations. So let's first talk about something very, very simple. You have to treat your relationship with God. Religion, a lot of times Judaism, they say, oh, Judaism is a religion. But what happens is when we get into it just as a tradition, we lose the heart of the religion. That's one of the biggest problems that we're having nowadays. That we're not treating a relationship with God as a relationship. That means you're Jewish. But now we have too many labels. He's this, he's that, he's that, he's that, he's that. So there's too many labels, but no relationship. Judaism is a relationship between you and your Creator. That's the number one step. If you treat Judaism as a relationship, that means you're here to make your Father happy. It's a relationship. Once you know you have a relationship, then you need to put your heart into it. Because if it's just a tradition, there's no heart. It's a habit. People are walking around doing the exact same things. They don't even know what they're doing. And that's really, I see the biggest problem in life, is that there's no heart. People are just doing things out of habit. And I realized that. I went to synagogue today. Middle of prayers, the guy picks up his phone, he's in the middle of a conversation, in the middle of praying to God. He's talking on the phone. Like, you know where you are? Like, you're talking to God, for God's sake. You're texting, you're checking your stocks, you're doing this. You're talking to God, for God's sake. And this is the way you act. So once you're going to synagogue, you're not even there. You're just not even there. And I realize that people are missing this awe and relationship with God. Because if you have a relationship with God, you don't do those kind of things. And so the first thing we have to build a relationship. That's the key. It's not a tradition. If you treat Judaism as a tradition, you're going to eventually fall out of it. If you treat it as a relationship, it's all about what? Communication. Communication. If you did at the beginning of your marriage, right, there will never be an end. If you did what you did at the beginning, there'll never be an end to your marriage. That means the key is when we first got into religion, how was the excitement? But the problem is, everybody lost that excitement. So the Baal Shem Tov and Rav Nachman came out with these teachings to basically tell us it's all about the heart. That means if your head is here and your heart is not into it, you're missing everything. You're just treating it as a religion, as a tradition, and at the end of the day, you don't even know what you're doing. So that's where I think some of the rabbis are not connecting to the people because there's no relationship. Where Rav Nachman says it's all about a relationship. And if you treat it as a relationship, then you gradually, you know that the only one thing you could do is to build your relationship and to get the relationship better. So that's the key. The key is, if you realize what's the number one reason people get divorced nowadays. What do you guys think the number one reason people get divorced nowadays? No communication. No communication. Guess what? Why do you think people are getting divorced from God? No communication. Bottom line. There's absolutely no communication. Your relationship determines on how much you communicate with God. Luckily, I'm in Breslov for 15 years. I also didn't have a communication until 5 years ago when my whole life completely turned over. And then I said, well, I have no other option but to communicate with God. This is it. There's absolutely nothing else I can do. So unfortunately, sometimes we have to get hit with a lot of negative things to get you closer to God. So I thank God every single day for those times that I went through, because if it wasn't for those times, I would never have the relationship I have with God now. And at the end of the day, you can't put a price to it. So you got to look at the pain that you're going through in life, and you got to basically give it a different meaning. So sometimes what you're going from is because God wants to squeeze you. And at the end of the day, you got to get squeezed because you're not doing naturally, because that's just the way we are. We're stiff-necked people. That means unless the heat's coming, you're not doing anything. So again, that created that conversation with me and God. So now I know every single day I have a problem, I have a coping method. That means I have a problem with my wife, I have a problem with my kids, I have a problem at work. I have an appointment at 6 o'clock with God. This is when we're going to handle this problem. If you're trying to focus on handling the problem directly with the person, or directly with the attorney, or directly, good luck. Good luck. The whole purpose of God giving a person affliction is so the person is able to turn to God and able to go directly to the source. Why would you pay retail when you could pay wholesale? Why would you do that? You have direct God, but people, it's the highest thing, prayer, but this is the first thing that people do, is the first thing, no, it doesn't work. So a lot of people tell me, you know what? I said, I hear your problems that you have, and this calls, you should talk to God about the problems. You tell me you don't have this, you don't have that, you don't have that, you don't have that. This is like, it seems that you should talk to God and see what's going on with your life. I don't have time. Or I'll try. That's the number one excuse I get. I don't have time, or I'll try. So this is like a guy going to Orlando, but he's on I-75. And you tell him, listen, by the way, you're going the wrong way. What are you talking about? I have no time to turn around. But you're going to I-75. You're not going anywhere. Just because you're going somewhere faster doesn't mean you're going anywhere. So people, the Mesilat Yesharim says something very beautiful. If we had 5 minutes to stop and contemplate what you're doing all day, you would change your whole life. But nobody has time to change. Nobody has time to reflect on what they're doing. That's exactly why Pharaoh in Egypt, you know what Pharaoh in Egypt did? He made sure the Jews had no time to do anything. He specifically made them work all day long. So if they started contemplating a little bit, they can get out of your situation. The same thing with the person. If he says, I don't have time, then you don't have time to talk to the Creator who's controlling absolutely every single thing in your life. So what do you do with such a person? Remember, all suffering in life is because of a person is lacking knowledge. It's like the guy going to the therapist and asking, how do I make my wife happy? Why don't you ask your wife how to make her happy? Did you ever think of that? Ask her what she makes. Ask Hashem, how do I make you happy? That means we are Hashem wants our prayers. The man comes to us every single day because he doesn't want you to rely on him once a month. He wants you to look up to him every single day. He doesn't want you to look up to him once a month. Now people are going to tell you, this guy crazy, he's talking to God. Who's he talking to? Nobody? Even in religion, you go to synagogues, with rabbis, with beards, with tzitzit, with their faces are covered up to here. They'll tell you, what are you talking about? You can't talk to God. That's Bittul Torah. That means you're wasting your time on this. You should just learn Torah all day long. Absolutely not. They have no idea. Most people have no idea about this relationship. So Rab Nachman says, it's all about the conversation. It's all about the intimacy with God. Once you get to a level where you're going to have a coping method, where anything that happens to you, well, I have an appointment with God at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to discuss this problem, and God's going to give me a strategy how to fix it. And then there's no anxiety, there's no depression, there's no worry. All that other stuff is gone. You understand? What's happening now? We have the unknown. People are up to 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning watching the election. Oh my God, what's going to happen? I'm going to get deported. This one tells me I'm going to get deported. Another one tells me I'm not going to have health insurance. This one's going to tell me this. That one's going to tell me this. Everybody doesn't know what to do. But if you rely on God, you don't even spend 10 minutes on the election. You don't spend 10 minutes. Okay, Trump, wonderful. This one's wonderful. At the end of the day, God's controlling the whole show. It's not Trump, Hillary, all this nonsense. So again, the reason why I was able to grow so much, and I also run 4 companies, I'm able to give classes daily, is because guess what? I'm not tired. You know what makes you tired? Anxiety and depression. Worry. There's nothing worse than causes you to lose your time in life than worry. It takes all of your strength from you. So I realized, wow, people tell me, how do you do this? How could you teach so many classes? Where do you have the time? You know why? Because I maximize my time. I don't spend 3 hours worrying about the future like people do. They sit and worry about the future. And they're not even getting paid for it. So that's why I'm trying to teach you guys, if you have a system where you're able to talk to your Creator every single day, and you have this bodedut, and you talk to your Creator, who's at the end of the day causing everything to happen, then at the end of the day, there's no problems. Because you know, if it's something you did, Hashem, He wants to give you a sign. So you talk to Him, you build a relationship, you talk about the problem, He'll show you the signs on how to fix it, and there's your life. You can have a wonderful life. You don't have to age quickly. You can actually have a normal life, believe it or not. Since I've been talking to God, I have much more time, much more energy. Remember, this also multiplies in everything else you do. That means in business, in exercise. 1 second, after the class. Absolutely everything. It's like a momentum. That means once I'm calm, I get home at 5 o'clock, I'm relaxed, I can work out, I can see my kids, I can do absolutely everything. But if a guy's burnt out because he doesn't know what's coming, he doesn't know what's happening in his life, what's happening to his body? He's creating cortisol, he's creating epinephrine, and he's exhausted because his brain is completely lit up all day long. So that's what I'm trying to tell people. Look, stop for 5 minutes, watch yourself in a movie, and at the end of the day, you got to see where you're holding. You got to see where you're holding, because if you don't do that, then at the end of the day, you're going to get burnt out. You need a coping method. There's no other way. And I actually have a drug rehab facility. So I see people all day long with all kinds of mental problems, with all kinds. So I see what's going on at the end of the day. At the end of the day, I see it. And I realize, wow, at the end of the day, if you just stopped for a minute and saw what you were doing, you can change your whole life. It's not so complicated. But if you're telling me, I'll try, I don't have time, you're going the wrong way in I-75, you want to get to Orlando, you don't have time to turn around. What are you going to do? What would you tell a guy? If a guy tells you, I don't have time, he's on I-75, you tell, what an idiot, this guy is I-75. He doesn't realize he's going the wrong way. He tells me I don't have time to turn around. What do you tell a guy like that? Okay, no problem, you're right, you don't have time. We'll see you in Naples. That's what happens. This happens all the time. Naples is an example of going nowhere faster. Just because you're going nowhere faster doesn't mean you're going to get there. That's what I'm trying to explain to people. I beg people. I said, just stop. Understand, it's all about emunah bitachon. You people it's just, Rav Nachman says clearly in lesson 10, the only reason why people are not close to God is one thing. It's because they don't have mental health. They don't have yeshuva dat. Their brain is not stable. Because if your brain is stable, if you're in the now, then you can go wherever you want. But if you're not, guess what? Your emotions are going to take you, God knows where you're going to end up being. So this is why it's so important. This is the key. This is the key. This is the key to everything. If you're able to not get excited and not have anger and not have all this anxiety all day long, you're going to be able to accomplish a lot of things in life. If not, then you're running the show. So unfortunately, I don't like to say it so but sometimes you have to talk like this. Because, and all I'm telling you, I'm not telling you to go eat Chalav Yisrael, I'm not telling you to wear this, I'm just telling you to have a conversation with God. And that's it. Because you have to work on the inside before you work on the outside. Problem is, people want to work on the outside and not work on the inside. And what do you think happens? That means the outside is the garments. You can be a rabbi in about 3 weeks. You can grow a beard, you can get a hat, 3 weeks you can be a rabbi. Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. Absolutely doesn't mean anything. I know rabbis, people come into shul, they throw them out. Oh, is this a rabbi? Absolutely not. Rabbi, how do you pick a leader? One of my biggest rabbis are what? Rabbi Rush, Rabbi Brody. They smile. They're welcoming to people, nice to people. This is Judaism. It's not this rigid, stuck-up way of doing things where it's not a weakness, and that's what unfortunately where we're headed. And I see the trends. And I see some synagogues that don't grow because they don't have this renewal. So Rav Nachman's main emphasis in his classes was all about the renewal. Renewing yourself daily. That even if, for example, a guy has a bad day at 11 o'clock, so normally what would you say? Oh, my day's shot. 11 o'clock, today's gone, finished. Rav Nachman says, absolutely not. At 12 o'clock, you can say, you know what, I'm going to have the greatest day of my life. 1 hour can change your whole life, is what you tell yourself. You know how many times you start the day rough, the next day, the next hour, you can become a different person. That's the greatness of renewing yourself. Anytime you're able to renew yourself, that's the key to Judaism. Starting fresh. Looking at things completely different. Not looking at things the same thing. Oh, we have to go this. Because anytime you put a low effort in anything, it's because you're looking at it as an obligation, not as an opportunity. That's the bottom line. Think about it. Anytime you put a low effort, anything that you have in your life, that you put a low effort into it, it's because you're looking as an obligation, not as an opportunity. If you look at it as opportunity, or you're going to run, you're going to do it with a smile, you're going to put your heart into it. God wants a person's heart. He doesn't care about this other stuff if there's no heart. Remember that. No heart, everything else doesn't care. So unfortunately, we were not taught this. Only through Rav Nachman's teachings, the Baal Shem Tov It gives you the warmth. It gives you the newness. It gives you the reason to start your day out. Otherwise, people say, "Oh, this is the way my life is," etc., etc. So we know the key is to avoid any kind of habits, because the evil inclination wants one thing. He loves habits. He loves habits. He loves people that are controlled by their subconscious. That means this guy wakes up, he doesn't know where he's going. Where are you going? I don't know. His subconscious is taking him. He doesn't even know he doesn't know what he's doing. So when you renew yourself, you're in control. You can tell yourself right now, I'm a brand new person. Tomorrow I'm going to start. Sometimes it might take you an hour to 35 minutes. It can change absolutely your whole life. Imagine if you woke up every single day, an hour or half an hour earlier, and had meditation or conversation with God. How would your life be different? How would your life be different? Think about it. Think about all the things you went through in your life. It's only half an hour, or 45 minutes, or an hour. Imagine you just woke up 1 hour long. People wake up an hour earlier for daylight savings times. Just pretend it's daylight saving times in your life. 1 hour early, you wake up, you have a meditation, you start your day with gratitude. I guarantee you, your life will be completely different. You'll have a relationship with God. Everybody else is stressing out. You're calm. You're relaxed. Do you not realize how a lot of people are trying to lose weight and they can't figure out how to lose weight? And they're battling with losing weight. And you know why? Did you realize that part of losing weight is, unfortunately, if a person has extreme amounts of stress, even though he can eat absolutely nothing, stress creates cortisol. And what does that do? It pumps sugar into your stomach. Where do you think that sugar stays? In your stomach. So where do you think the belly fat comes from? It comes from stress. It comes from stress. So you realize you're actually gaining weight when you're stressed out. If anybody knew that. You're actually gaining weight when you're stressed out. Why would you do that?
You can tell how much stress I had.
Listen. The bottom line is you have to know that every problem in life is a lack of knowledge. If you know the knowledge, if you know it, that's the key. Okay? So we're going to talk about a few things. So again, that's exactly why we go to the mikvah. Imagine people say, "Oh, what do you guys go to the mikvah? What's this craziness going to the mikvah, separating from your husband?" The mikvah, the whole thing when the Jews have this nida concept, it's absolutely, if you're married, you'll realize it's absolutely the greatest thing that God invented. Why? Because it creates your relationship brand new. Your relationship is absolutely brand new. God's giving you a favor and telling you, by the way, here's the way how to make your relationship brand new. But guess what? People are going against it. No, nida, this is too religious, you're crazy. What is nida? It's all about renewing your marriage every single month. It's like having a brand new wife every single month. That's what nida does for you. But people who don't, they get tired, they start looking here, they start looking there. So the greatness of nida is one thing. It's all about the renewal. That means you have every month, it's a brand new cycle, brand new wife. And that's exactly why God gave it to us. What do you think? God's going to give you something to punish you? Sometimes people are going against themselves. So nida can absolutely change your whole marriage. It can make you into the happiest person because it's all about the renewal. Renewing yourself. That means every single day is a brand new day. If a person believes that tomorrow is going to be the same thing as today, is what? He's an idol worshiper because he doesn't believe in a new creation. Look what happened. Today's new president, brand new world. Brand new world. Absolutely brand new world. It's a brand new world. The people are all of a sudden rejuvenated. There's hope. In one day, how life can completely change. So you got to see, it's all about the renewal. You got to ask yourself, how much have you renewed yourself? Think about it. How much have you renewed yourself? And if you're not renewing yourself, then there's your results. It's all about the renewal. And you have to create that. Why do we, the problem is a lot of times is we think, you know what, let me just wait in the sidelines and maybe God's going to save me. Right? I'm going to wait. People tell me, oh, wait. Things will be better. Right? Guess what? It doesn't work like that. That means just because you have a puppy face of a dog and you're depressed in the corner, you think you're going to get saved. It absolutely does not work like that. It's going to work against you. I'm going to explain to you why. If you understand this concept, you realize we are living in a world where we have to make an arousal first. God doesn't make an arousal first. We have to create the arousal, and then in heaven they create an arousal. So if you're waiting for an arousal from on high without making one from below, you're going to be waiting a long time. and you're probably going to talk to a therapist about it. There's no such thing. That means a person has to change the way he looks at things here, and then upstairs they'll change the way he looks at things. It just doesn't come to you. You don't inherit happiness. You don't inherit things to change for you. It just doesn't happen like that. So let me give you two examples from the Ariya Kodesh. Two examples I'm going to give you, okay? The Nefesh HaChaim explains that Hashem gave man the power to be Nefesh HaChaim, of the higher worlds and the lower worlds, which activates actions by man. That means you are a co-creator. Believe it or not, you are a co-creator. You can create your own reality. Believe it or not. People say, oh, this is not a Jewish concept. They're absolutely wrong. They're absolutely wrong. This is 100% a Jewish concept. It says here, he says, by his behavior below, man activates a higher system of attributes above. This is what David HaMelech says. Hashem is your shadow on your right hand. Just as a shadow mirrors a person's actions, so too Hashem reflects the actions of man. Look what the Zohar says. If a man displays happiness below, he is shown happiness above. If you show it here, if you find a way to have happiness down low, upstairs you're singing the same exact tune that you're singing. You're singing a sober tune. Upstairs, they're singing the exact same tune. If a man displays sadness, this sadness is reflected from above. That means when a person, God forbid, is depressed, they're going to show, you're basically asking for an audit. God, please audit me. I can't focus on what I have. So guess what? You're going to show more things to be depressed about. We're going to talk about that concept now. So you already have it from the Ariya Kadosh. He's telling you, you mirror. Whatever frequency you're down here, upstairs is the exact same frequency. So you have to ask yourself, what frequency are you resonating lately? And that's really your reality. Another example by the Malbim says a man's relationship. So that means I have to make that arousal first. Just doesn't happen. Just doesn't happen by sitting on the sidelines waiting for somebody to pick you up. That's the problem. So look what he's saying here. Hashem arranged the world in such a way that all the forces of nature mirror the deeds of a man. This is the second source from Malbim. These are all big tzaddikim that were 500 years ago. They already told us. And he compares it to a beautiful example. He says, this is like two harps. There's a smaller harp and there's a higher harp, a bigger harp. Whatever music you're playing on the lower harp, upstairs they're playing the same tune. It's like a resonating fork. So you got to ask yourself. So now you know, you're literally in charge of your reality. You're literally in charge of reality. So it says here, so too Hashem arranged a large harp. Whatever frequency you want to play down here, if a person's happy, if he has gratitude, then upstairs they're going to show him gratitude and they're going to show him reasons to be happy. If you show sadness down here, upstairs they're going to show you reasons to be sadder. So this is very important. Because if you don't sit there and start realizing this, that means I have to start seeing the world differently. If I want a different reality, I have to look at the world completely different. And that's where Emunah comes into place. I gave the example on the Emunah. I don't know who ever heard the class, but what was the key? What was the key to Moshe Rabbeinu beating Amalek? What does Amalek represent? Amalek represents doubt. When a person says, I can't do this, I am limited. And it's the gematria of Amalek is the gematria of 240. 240 represents the word doubt. Every time you say, I can't do this, it's never going to work, it'll never happen, things will never change, it's Amalek. This is your enemy, your mirror. This is Amalek. Every single time you say that word, what you're doing is you are giving Amalek. So what happens when you say, I can't do this, it's never going to happen, I'm never going to get out of the situation? Where is your face and your hands usually? Down. Why? You don't say, oh, things are never going to work. I'm so happy things are never going to work. Remember, I like Russell Simmons said, I don't want to quote Russell Simmons, but a person never had a heart attack on a piece of kale, right? A person doesn't go to the doctor when he's happy. He only goes to the doctor when he's depressed. So, like I was saying here, the same way a person can create that reality. So he says here, so what was the key to Moshe Rabbeinu winning? What was the key? He says, when his hands were up, they won the war. When his hands were down, they lost the war. Nothing else. What does the hands represent? When the Jews look up, you're winning the war. You're winning. You're going to beat every single one of your enemies. If your hands are down, you lost. The minute you defeat, you quote defeat here, you lost the war. So just look, where are your hands? Where are your hands? If your hands are not up, you lost the war. Don't blame anybody else. It's like that famous example. What's the famous example I always gave about the pit? The guy's in the pit, right? He's in the pit. So he's worried, he's asking himself, why am I in the pit? Who threw me in the pit? It's my parent that threw me in the pit. All he talks about is why he's in the pit. Another problem is, he's saying to himself, well, if I get out of the pit, what are people going to say about me? That my hands are dirty, my feet are full of mud. So you're right, stay in the pit. Stay in the pit. Person has to realize he's in a pit. One way, either you have to get rid of the past, or you have to face the future. Otherwise, you stay in the pit. Who wants to stay in the pit? So you have to realize, yes, you're going to have some kind of pressure one way or the other, but you're going to have to realize we only have Emunah. We absolutely have nothing else in this world but Emunah. So the key to winning is putting your hands up. It's not so complicated. So you have to ask yourself, how long are my hands up and when are my hands down? And this is the reason why. You guys know that once your hands were up, you won. Once your hands were up, you won. Once you're happy, once you changed the way you looked at things, you won the war. Once your hands are down, you lost the war. Your doubt took over. Amalek wins. You can't be in the middle. The first way to put your hands up is when you wake up in the morning and have a conversation with God, you say, thank you, Hashem. Thank you. Thank you for all your gratitude. That's just you put your hands up. You can only get prophecy. People want to say, I want to get close to Hashem. I want to get close to Hashem. How do I get close to Hashem? What do you think? You're going to start reading Kabbalah? You're going to start reading... No, it's very simple. Happiness. Joy only comes to people. Joy, prophecy only comes through joy. That means most people make decisions when they're depressed. And those decisions are coming from where? The negative side. It comes from the negative side. Depression comes from the negative side. Depression is so bad because it's not only you're depressed, it's you're giving the other side life force. You're giving it. That's why it's such a dangerous thing. Depression is so dangerous. Rav Nachman says here, it's one of the biggest sins you can have, is depression. And basically your hands are down. If your hands are down, you're going to lose the war. I'm not here to give you such complication things. I'm trying to show you. You have to ask yourself, maybe take a movie of yourself one day and look at it and see how often are my hands up and how often are my hands down. You have to catch yourself. Everybody's going to have moments that your hands are going to be down. But the question is, do you catch yourself? The key is to catch yourself. And you know what? It's okay. My hands were down for 2 hours. I'm putting my hands back up. Because I know as long as my hands are down, as long as my emunah is down, I'm finished. I am absolutely finished. You know, there's two things that a person, Romancer says something very beautiful. It says when you pay a worker, a person has to pay a worker on time. It means if a person works for him, he has to pay him on time the same day if he hired him. If a messenger hired him, you don't have to pay him the same day, you can pay him the next day or in the future. So what is he saying here? God gave you the first 2 commandments. What are the first 2 commandments? Faith. That means God promised you. There's one thing that a person gets immediate reward for is faith. You don't even have to wait for the world to come. You have faith, automatically you get rewarded because God has to give it to you today. Because he's just like he gave you the message directly, he has to give it to you today. It's an amazing concept. You get paid immediately. That means the minute a person changes his emunah, he gets paid immediately. Immediately you see life differently. You don't even have to wait. You don't even have to wait till 1 o'clock in the morning for an election. All you have to do is do it and automatically get paid. Unbelievable. So now you know the key. You get paid automatically and you got to put your hands up. So it's not so simple, right? Because now we have to deal with what? All our emotions. All our emotions is what's stopping all this. We know you have the right side of your heart and you have the left side of your heart. The right side of your heart is your good inclination and your left side of your heart is what? Your evil inclination. What is your evil inclination going to show you normally? What's wrong with your life? Correct? Right? You walk outside, what's wrong with life? You wake up, people say, what's wrong with life? So we're going to take this concept, beautiful concept. If you understand this concept, remember all these tips that I'm giving you, these tools, these are life-changing things. That means if you're able to put these things into your life, you have immediate changes. We have this concept called, Dennis Prager came out with this concept. He called it the missing tile syndrome. Missing tile syndrome. What is this missing tile syndrome? It says, missing tile syndrome, it means focusing on the things you don't have. Focusing on the missing tile in your life. That's one way to get yourself into a depression. Very quickly. Very quickly. Just focus on what's missing in your life. You don't even need to talk to a doctor. Right away, you're going to get depressed. What's missing? This is what we have, unfortunately. Some of us have the missing tile syndrome. I never forget. I hurt my arm, and it bothered me because I wanted to work out, and it was driving me crazy. So all I saw, wow, look at this guy's arm, how he can work out. Look at that guy's arm. So I went to the gym. I'm already lost my spirit. Look, I can't even work out. This guy's half my size. He's lifting all his weight. And look at me with my arm with my bandage like this. All I can see, all around me, all of a sudden I can see everybody's arm is working, but mine. Same thing, if a person's bald, he's going to wake up and he's going to see, wow, look at Bastaba. What is this, a Rogaine commercial? Everybody's got hair today. That's the danger of the Yetzer Hara. It's called the missing tile syndrome. So whatever you're missing, you're going to see it so clear. A woman that can't give birth, that can't get pregnant, all she's going to see is babies everywhere in her face. A person that can't get married, oh, look at this couple, look at that couple. That's the Yetzer Hara. It's called the missing tile syndrome. That basically, you are going to see exactly what you're missing, because wherever focus goes, energy flows. If you are not careful about this concept, then you're going to be depressed, because you're going to start comparing yourself to people. Look at that guy, look at that guy. How come he's making that? How come he's making that? I never forget, Ron Artest was a very good basketball player. They say he was a tremendous basketball player. Ron Artest plays? So listen to this example. What happened? What happened is when he was younger, he used to play for the Indiana Pacers, and he was a little bit of the elevator didn't go to the top floor. So one time, he was a tremendous basketball player. But one time, what happened? All of a sudden, the guy lost his rocker, and he goes into the fans, and he starts having the biggest brawl in NBA history. Everybody saw it. He went into the fans. He started making a riot. The craziest thing. What the hell? Everybody knew the guy was crazy. So what happened? The Lakers, which is all owned by Jews, they said, listen, before we hire you, we got to sit down and talk a little bit. So what did they end up talking? They realized, what was his problem? They got to the root of his problem. You know what the root of his problem was? He couldn't handle the fact that Jermaine O'Neal was making more money than him. And that's why he turned complete. He says, I couldn't handle it. That means this guy could have been the best basketball player, but he couldn't handle, because all he was focusing on is that, how come this guy's making more money than me? Why is he making more money than me? I'm better than him. So the Lakers told him, by the way, you realize what happened to your career. You realize all the stress and anxiety you put yourself through for absolutely no reason. So he changed his name to Meta World Peace. Meta World Peace. So everybody's like, what's up with this guy? His name is Meta World Peace. Because he realized that his only problem in life was that he couldn't stop focusing on what the other guy was making. And that was his reality. It's a very scary concept. He lost maybe 10 years of a good NBA career because of absolute stupidity, because he had the missing tile syndrome. So we have to realize we have to focus on what we have, not what we don't have. It's so important, and this is gratitude. This is gratitude 101. If you focus on what you don't have, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel like crap. You're not going to want to have any willpower to do anything, because you're like, oh, what's the purpose? What's the purpose? It's going to deflate your spirit. And this is what's going on nowadays. You know, I talk to people. They tell me, okay, what's up? What's going on with your life? I have this problem, I have that 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 problem. 7 problems. Anything good? No. They can't focus on anything good. So I said, listen, when you start changing your focus and start focusing on the good, then you have a different life. Right now you have an ingratitude problem. The ingratitude is the problem why these 7 things aren't happening to you. I hate to talk so obvious and blunt, but this is exactly what's going on in life. Yet we have the missing towel syndrome. And as long as you have that, you're going to be depressed. And if you're depressed, you're not talking to God, you're not putting your heart into it, you don't feel like doing absolutely anything but what? Escaping. So what do we have to do? We have to start focusing on what we have. This is the Rav Nachman's lesson 282. He says this concept of a zamra, which is basically a person has to wake up in the morning and start having gratitude. God, I'm healthy. God, I'm strong. God, I'm this. God, I'm that. Start focusing on what you have, and then all of a sudden, because a person cannot focus on 2 things at the same time. Even if he's bipolar, he can't do that. You can't focus on 2 things. You can always focus on what you have or what you don't have. The only way to get out of this state, if you turn this, you fill up the missing tile and you start focusing on what you have in life. This is gratitude. And we're not getting knocked out on the complication. We're getting knocked out because when you have gratitude, you feel differently.
You don't feel the challenge in life.
Yes, you have a challenge, but the Yetzer Hara's job is for you to have negative thoughts. Because when you see the missing tile in your life, what are you saying? It's never going to be fixed. I'm stuck like this forever. And these are negative thoughts. Why are you saying that? Are you a fortune teller? Who says it's going to be like this forever? It's not true. Unless you say it. If you say it, then it becomes a reality. And that's one of the biggest problems that I see is you're already going out. People are going out already with this problem. If you realize on Passover, what was our biggest problem in Mitzrayim, in Egypt? All we did was complain. It says, the Jews says they came from an ungrateful ancestor, which is Adam Arishon. When God asked them, when he told them, you sinned, what did he say? You gave me this woman. It's your fault. This is the woman you gave me. Instead of God who was giving you the wife to help you, what happened? You blamed God, you blamed her for your problems. Ingratitude. So what did God say? You have ingratitude. Instead of thanking God for giving you a mate, you did what? You complained to God that He gave it to you. So what did He say? That's what it says in Egypt. It says they were so ungrateful because all the miracles that God did for them, all they were focused on was what? What they were missing. There's no meat. There's no water. There's no this. How about the 10 miracles He just did for you? So they said, yes, these were the same Mitzrayim that did what? That focused on what they didn't have. And so what's the tikkun? If you realize, what do we say at the end of the Passover? At the end of the Seder, what do we say? We say, Dayenu, to make a tikkun for all this. Why do you say Dayenu? You know what Dayenu means? Even if you took me out of Egypt, it would have been enough. Even if you gave us food in the desert, it would have been enough. You have to make a tikkun now, rectification, for all the ingratitude, so you have to say Dayenu. Dayenu is, you're pointing out that Hashem, if you gave us the Torah, it would have been enough. Even if you just gave us this, it would have been enough. You have to do the exact opposite of what you did to make a tikkun for the ingratitude. That's why in the last of the, that's what we say. We have to start focusing on all the things God did to you. So you need to have your own version of Dayenu. Person needs to have his own version of Dayenu. Listen, you don't get these revelations unless you go through something. So I went through something, and I had a wonderful life, and all I could focus on was what was missing. Was a couple problems that was working. 90% of my energy went into this problem. It's not like this is an easy thing to do. Let's be honest. This is not an easy thing to do. But little by little, you can get better. That means it's not easy. So programming your subconscious, it's not easy because you've had maybe 30 years of ingratitude. You're not going to fix 30 years of ingratitude in one day. But little by little, you can change it. You could start saying, you know what? You know what, Hashem, I realized how ungrateful I was. Because all problems come from ingratitude. Every single problem in life comes from ingratitude. All of them. So if a person is able to turn his expectations into gratitude, right away your life changes. You have emunah, you have happiness, you have a different life. You have an absolutely different life. You know, you could teach a guy Torah all day long, but if he doesn't have the basis right, if he doesn't have the joy, well, where are we holding here? What are we doing? That's why you need to have a relationship with God. Because when you have a relationship with God, you start thanking Him. Because you want to make your Father happy. How do you make your Father happy? Gratitude. Thank you, Hashem. Look what you did for me. You'll start noticing the little things in life that other people would say, you know what, I can't believe what a miracle. I didn't go on the flight, and that was the flight to 9/11. He says thank you one time for the big miracle that happens. The other guy is saying thank you, Hashem, for the little miracles that are happening to me. That's the difference. One guy's saying he got saved one time. The other guy's saying he got saved, he sees 100 miracles every day in his life. And that's the difference between one guy and the other. It's not about being smart. It's about being careful on what you focus on. Mindfulness. Being careful. Having unbelievable amount of diligence. And basically watching out, where is my focus at this moment? If I'm in a low state, why am I in a low state? Because my hands are down and I'm focusing on what I don't have. I lost. So I know if I'm in that state, I have no shot of winning. What do I have to do? I have to turn the expectation to appreciation, change my state, put my hands up, and say, thank you, Hashem. I'm giving you a tool to save your life. This is not a Baba Maisa kind of thing. Because I believe if I'm going to put effort into this, I'm obsessed with results. This will instantly change your life, instantly. But you're trying to get a kamiyah, I'm not happy. That's my mezuzahs. The problem is my mezuzahs. No, it's my problem is this person. Oh, the problem is this person. No, it's no other problem. But you have an ingratitude problem. That's all you have. Nothing else but that. Or the guy waiting, unfortunately, for something to happen so he can be happy. I'll be happy when I'll get married. I'll be happy when I'll make more money. I'll be happy when I do this. I'll be happy when I do that. You're never going to be happy because you don't need a condition to be happy because you're not focusing on what you have. Believe me, I realized that I never thanked Hashem so much for my arm working. When I never thanked Hashem so much for my arm working, going to this 6 months having a broken arm. Never thanked Him. I never saw it differently. I never would even think about thanking God for a bicep. Never in a million years. Until you sit there and you realize, oh my God, I took this for granted. I didn't realize I took this for granted. So people who tell you they have no time to thank God, they're going absolutely nowhere. And you have to see good points in your spouse. You have to thank Hashem for your spouse. You have to thank Hashem for absolutely everything. You have to realize that there's nothing else but God. And once you realize that, I don't have to get stressed out. I don't have to get stressed out about absolutely anything. Because everything can change in 1 minute. Those are good thoughts. That I can change absolutely. You know why? Because I have the ability to renew myself. I have the ability to lift my hands up. And that's what I need to do. Lift my hands up. But ask yourself, where you went wrong in your life, it's only because you focused on the Nissan syndrome, because your hands were down, and because you gave up. You gave up. It's very easy to quit. It's not hard to quit. So may Hashem help us. You got to put your hands up. If you have to hear this class 1,000 times until it gets into your subconscious, you have to do it. This is the key to life. Is to have this emunah, because this is our only connection with God. If you have your hands up, you won the war. If you have your hands up, you lost. So first, before you blame everybody else, ask yourself, where are my hands? Where's my emunah? Then you can question every other factor in life. All right? That's the next class.
Okay.